Yo, what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal with a doink that was given to me by a friend of ours, Miss Victoria Williams. Thank you so much, from Wake and Puff, Wake and Vape. This is called Berry Bliss, and this is 24%, and this is an indica dominant hybrid strain, and it's a cross. The strain is 80% indica and 20% sativa. Berry Bliss is a fruity strain with heavy diesel undertones that will make you feel delightful, calm, and relaxed. The strain is 24%, making the strain an ideal choice for experienced cannabis consumers. Berry Bliss effects include feeling happy, sleepy, and hungry. Oh. Great. Medical marijuana patients often choose Berry Bliss when they're dealing with symptoms associated with anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. This company that created this strain believes that it's great for health, it's great for happiness, and personal well-being. Berry Bliss features flavors like berry, skunky, and sweet. The dominant terpene of this strain is caryophyllene. And this is just looking forward to trying this strain. I've never had it before. So its flavors are berry, blueberry, and diesel. 43% of the people that use this strain say it helps with pain. 29% of people report PTSD and cramps. So if you get some cramps out there, try Berry Bliss. And that's it. Yeah, Berry Bliss. Thank you, Wake and Puff and Wake and Vape and Miss Victoria Williams for throwing to the cause. We had a fun Saturday.
We did.
Yeah, but before I tell you about that, let me take a hit of this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very nice. We got to hang out with some cool peeps this Saturday night. We were invited to a dinner by our friends over at Mr. Green's, and we get to hang out with Miss Tiffany Jackson and all of her crew and some of the owners and some other people in the cultivation world and dispensary world, and it was great. It was a fun time, good dinner, good conversation, good smoke, and we got little prize bags too. It was very nice, little gift bags. It was very nice, and a thank you card. So I wanted to thank all the folks at Mr. Green's, Miss Tiffany Jackson, and your whole crew. Thank you so much for the fun times out in Plainfield at Hopscotch and Vine. We got to have a good dinner and good drinks and good weed because Mr. Weedman brought doinks.
We did have a pretty big smoke sesh after dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody headed outside. I think half of the party went out, and then the other half of the party went out.
Oh, yeah. I bought doinks and handed them out to a bunch of people I knew so that were there. And there was a bunch of people in the industry that I knew from different cultivators and infusers and stuff like that, on top of some of the staff that came from the 4 stores that they own. There's a store in Decatur, Mr. Green's Decatur, Mr. Green's Lincoln, Mr. Green's Belleville, and there's another store, and I always forget what town it's called, and I apologize, but they have 4 stores. So just a town that I never really always forget. I'm
Lincoln.
sorry. No, I said
Did you say
Lincoln.
Lincoln?
Decatur, Belleville, and there's one more, and I apologize off the top of my head. Not a big deal. But thank you, Mr. Greens, for letting Mr. and Mrs. Weedman come and hang out with all your crew and talk shop and just feel the vibe and the cool from your tribe. We love it. Thank you so much. So this is the last week. The last week you can buy tickets for Brunch of Stoners with the Weedman code to it. So Brunch of Stoners, the Chicago unofficial 420 pre-party, April 6th from 11 to 3 in the Pilsen neighborhood. Multiple food strains, consumption stations, and activities. Craft brands, large brands, independent dispensaries, and local artisans will be there. VIP tickets are available. Use the promo code, all caps, WM420. All caps, WM420 for $20 off each ticket. So make sure you check out Brunch of Stoners. It's your last week to buy tickets because it's this Sunday. Super excited to see everybody and roll doinks, and we'll be there hanging out, having a good time. We'd like to see all of our friends and family and people that want to come out, and all the cannabis stoners, burners, and potheads. Come join us, and Mr. Weedman will roll you some doinks, and come check out 8decades.com. We'll be there. All of our goods, and you can go on 8decades.com also and buy some fun stuff too, and check out all of our stuff at 8decades.com. Mrs. Weedman smoke tray, clothing line. We have jars. We have grinders. We have a steamroller. What else do we got? Did I miss anything? I think that's it. Stickers, pins. Yeah, clothing. Yeah, 8 Decades clothing line.
And Weedman 420
Weedman
swag.
420 swag. So check out 8decades.com, everybody. This is a big day. Not because it's April Fool's Day that we're recording on. And I did trick you last night in bed. It was kind of fun. But this is April Fool's Day. But it is a big day for the Weedman 420 Chronicles. This is a day and a goal that Mr. Weedman has had since I started the show. We are at our 250th episode, and it'll be 6 years on 420 this year, but this is a big deal. All the research and all this work when I was learning about podcasting and I was learning about how to put shows together, there was a kind of like a playbook I kind of followed a little bit that I had read and also listened to multiple, teaching podcasts. And the goal was most podcasts don't make it to the 25th episode. So my first goal was to make it to 25. And to, that first 25 is kind of a learning phase to get your voice, to learn kind of like what your show is kind of going to be about. There'll be changes, they said, along the way, but it's your first 25. If you make it to 25, it's a marker. The second marker was 100 episodes. That is where your show kind of is, your platform is where you want it to be. There's not many more changes you kind of want to do. You kind of have your layout, your flow, what your show is all about, where you want to be at in the next, so many years after that. But that 100 mark is a big deal. The next mark that I was told is the 250th episode. That's when they say that in this playbook that I read, where you become a legit podcast, I guess. You're here for the long haul. You're not just going to quit tomorrow. You put the time, you put the hours, you put the effort into it. Hold on, smoke break. You put the time, you put the effort. You've had your way about doing things for a while now. And no matter how long it took you to get there, the 250th episode is a milestone for most podcasts. We started this show almost 6 years ago. And when we started the show, it was my son, Paulie, T the Tech, Dov Boy and his back alley deals, and Shawty, our producer, who is still with me to this day. Thank you, Shawty. I appreciate it much. You've got me through 6 years of producing our show, and I appreciate it. And I've told this story multiple times, so I'm not going to go through it again. But Mrs. Weedman joined me at episode 15, and we've been running and gunning ever since. And to me, it's a big moment because she stuck with me on this project, not knowing that she was even going to make it past one episode. It was supposed to be like a couple episodes, and 250 episodes later, 235 for you. Here you are, still doing shows with me. It was supposed to be like find somebody after this, but there's Mrs. Weedman, I appreciate you sticking it out with me. I know it's not always easy to do a show every week, to be consistent, to be disciplined to do it. I know that we have life, day jobs, family, all the other stuff that comes around it. Plus, you started 8 Decades business 2.5 years ago to correlate with the podcast. So that was a big project. It took you a year to get to market, for us to create the products, create the brand, get the products made, get them manufactured, and then get them here. And that took about a year, so with correlation, and we started another business at 8decades.com, and we've done a ton of events in the 2.5 years of launching 8 Decades. And to correlate a brand with your podcast is one of the playbook they suggest that you do to start a brand, so you can make a living doing your show. And the support that people have given us is a big thing, But being at this 250 episode is heartfelt for me, because this was my top tier goal to get here one day. And now I have more goals to do the next stage of where I need to go to in this. And this is where you come to that crossroad of where you need to go with the show. And I love doing the show. Tuesday night, every night at 8:30 is my favorite night of the week, because Mrs. Weedman and I get to sit here, and it's just the two of us having a smoke sesh, conversation about weed, conversation about life. And, it's meaningful because there's no cell phones. There's no interruptions. It's just Mrs. Weedman and I looking at each other, making funny faces now and then, trying to make each other laugh. And it's my favorite night of the week. And I tell that to everybody. People ask me why I do the show. I said, well, I do the show for many reasons. Free the plant is first and foremost. Education, stopping the stigma. The Mrs. Weedman brought that to the table for me in our mantra, in our goals, and help freeing the 40,000 prisoners that are still locked up for minor cannabis crimes. And that became our 4 things that we do this show for. But the 5th one is you, Mrs. Weedman. My favorite day of the week. I'm not being mushy. I'm not being sentimental. It is my favorite day of the week. I enjoy putting the show together. I enjoy working on Monday nights, putting the show together, sitting and listening to jazz music that I do now, and have a little kind of flow that I have my set up on Mondays, where I sit here and I go through all my reading and I put this episode together. It takes me now 3 hours to put a 2-hour show together, or close
plus more time.
Sitting here on Monday, though, putting the show together, getting it organized, ready, getting your articles ready, what articles I'm picking for you, on top of the other 10, 12 hours a week of research. So to do that, to get to 250 episodes, the hours that have gone into this is I love it. It's one day I can wish to do this for a living, where I can just do shows 5 days a week and have my weekends to myself, because I enjoy doing shows like this. And I enjoy doing shows with you. I enjoy doing shows with Big Earl when we started the Grow Hour, 75 shows in, and, doing those 75 shows, working with Big Earl once a week and putting the show together, our outline together, and the guests we're going to have on and what we're going to talk about too. That's another 75 shows we put together. So, it's been a blessing to me that this show was a stoner thought one night, hanging out in the basement with Paulie, Dav, T, and Shoddy, when we started just going out and doing the Weedman costume thing and taking pictures everywhere around the city, to say one night on a stony, baloney night, I want to do a podcast, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. And that was I think it was like the summer of 2018, when we started talking about it, and it's just, I just love doing it. I get excited. It makes my week. I wait for Tuesday night. I get excited about Tuesday night, and I'm always anxious to, like, let's go. Come on, let's go record. Let's get down to our studio and record. And Mrs. Weedman has done a phenomenal job building out our studio here in our basement. And, she painted everything and put pictures up and made it look nice. And when we have guests on the show too, our little area for our guests, and our weed bar and our dab weed bar, our weed closet, and everything she's done to help me build the show in creative ways that I'm not good at. So first and foremost, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And, she grounds me too a lot with this show. There's a lot of stuff that she helps me out with creative wise that I might not always be good at, and ideas, and but being able to do this show for as long as we've and to hit the 250 episodes is one of my greatest accomplishments in something that I've done personally. And I've done a lot of things in life, and I've had a lot of goals, and I've reached a lot of things in milestones in my life, but I think this is one of my biggest ones, because I didn't know if I would make it a year. I didn't even know if we'd make it 6 months. And so I just want to tell everybody out there in the world, you've been with us for almost 6 years now, 250 episodes around the world. We are now in 157 countries, 7,700 cities. Somebody is listening to us or has listened to this show. We launched our YouTube channel, and now we're 4,200 hours last year of listening time on YouTube. And I don't really put a lot into YouTube. I just launched the show on there, and we're at like 600 followers. And I know for some people that's not a lot, but it's a big deal to watch, just with no money to do marketing and no money to do advertising and no money to be able to. It's just, what is it? One sticker at a time, one joint at a time, one doink at a time, one saying hi to somebody. Do you listen to podcasts? Visiting a dispensary here and there and ask them if they listen to podcasts, and talking to people about cannabis everywhere I go. I mean, that's all I do is live, breathe, and talk cannabis. And, there's just so much in these 6 years, and so many people to thank around the world to keep me motivated to keep on doing this show every week. It's not just me motivating myself. The little email I get, or the message that I get. I don't have social media anymore, so I don't get those messages that I used to get. But when someone sends me an email or a message on YouTube, or a fan mail, I guess it's called, on Buzzsprout, or now you can send messages on Spotify, and I can actually now send messages back to you on Spotify, which is fun. And I enjoy the praise and the high fives and the shout outs, but I also have gotten some comments from people and I've answered back. You know what I answer them back with? With love. I'm not here to argue with you because everybody has an opinion and everybody's opinion is right to that person. Whether it's right or wrong, they feel strong about that opinion. So I'm not going to argue with you. I have no reason to argue with you because you just taught me something maybe I didn't know. Right? So whether it's somebody being combative or argumentative, I love you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sending me something that you might have thought was wrong, that I might have not have known. Because I have always said I'm not an expert, and I don't want to be an expert. I always want to learn and grow. So all you out there in the world, all you burners, stoners, and potheads, I'm not going to change who I am. Because I've talked to some people like, oh, maybe you should change your name, or maybe you should change how long you go for a show, or what you're doing. You all out there have enjoyed what we've done. No one's ever told me to change. The audience and the listeners and our friends and people out there that listen to us, you, like I said, you motivate me to keep on doing this show. So thank you. Thank you all out there for going on our 250 episode journey and our 6 years. And we got a lot more coming. And I'm going to let Mrs. Weedman say a couple of things before we get the show started. Go ahead,
yeah, I know how much you love this. This is a passion project for you. And I'm the lucky person across the table. Yep, I'm your sidekick. And you drive me nuts and I drive you nuts. And this is just something we can do together that is a moment of not being nutty. Because there's a lot of nutty right now in life. Menopause. Hello. So maybe listeners, maybe there's a few guys out there that have wives where I am, or
I didn't get a chance to watch the Oprah show.
Yeah,
but Oprah did a show on menopause.
She sure did. It was pretty phenomenal.
We'll go into that in a second.
Last night.
Finish her.
So, with all the nuttiness of life, just life, we have a lot going on. We're trying to run 8 decades. We're trying to create a business, really create a brand. We have physically created it, but we need people to appreciate it and want it. Right? It's not really much of anything until it's something. So we're working all the time on that. It's always, a part of the brain activity. And then we've got our day jobs and we've got this. And, you just always, I'm more of the artistic left brain and he's more of the right type A brain. And either of our personalities alone maybe is a lot. But there's things about what each of us does within our relationship that makes, I think, the other one of us better. And so part of Mr. Weedman's strengths are his organization and his dedication to things and his, keeping everything up. And where I'm just like, bah, boo. I'm bouncing all over, I'm like the pinball machine. And yeah. So this is a task that we do together that is time that we can spend together. And it is, something that has conversation for us for the week. And it's something for us to connect on, but it's also something that we both believe in. And you keep order in our lives. And I think that the success that your show has had so far is because that order is giving good information, right? Like you're organized and you're putting a show together, and the consistency of your show and the format of your show has evolved and taken shape. And it's something people appreciate because we do have weekly listeners. We do have weekly downloads. We do have all of this reach, and we don't know who all of you are.
Yeah.
But there's people who are appreciative of what we're doing. And we don't know that, like there's very little that we know about who's on the other end.
Yeah.
So we continue doing this without knowing much because this is a passion project. This isn't a monetary project at this point. And so I appreciate your dedication to the cause and your dedication to your audience and the people who do listen to you. I know they appreciate you. And I think this time is great. And I might stomp and I gotta do this dumb show again. I have those moments, but then once I'm here and I have my little attitude adjustment and I get normal, I'm always happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yes, and we thank everybody out there for keeping us going, and we're gonna get the show started. You ready?
Yep.
Can I put my fist in your mouth?
Probably not.
Can you put your fist in my mouth?
Probably.
You think you can?
No.
Do you think it gets stuck?
Yeah.
You think you pull my teeth out trying to pull it out?
No.
Well, there's a guy out in the world that got his girlfriend's hand stuck in his mouth and he had to go to the hospital.
I don't even understand that. If you put your fist in someone's mouth, well, I guess it would be hard to straighten your hand to get it out because then you'd be gagging them. So it's because it's the fist and it got like lockjaw? Maybe?
Possibly. They had to yank, like literally yank this girl's hand out of his mouth. I mean, I have TMJ.
Yeah.
Okay? My jaw pops constantly. If I put your fist in my mouth, my jaw, I would just be able to go like this with my jaw. Like you'd be able to it would just fall out. It's like it's barely hanging on to anything, I think. And but this poor sucker, I mean, just literally, I was looking at the picture. I mean, he had the full fisting going on.
I saw it, and I thought it had to be fake.
The full fisting.
They had to go to the emergency room.
Yeah, it took about 20 minutes for them to get.
So it was
his
real.
Girlfriend. Yes.
I thought when I first looked, when you sent me this article, I'm like, no freaking way, this is fake. How if you got your fist in, why can't you get it out? That seems stupid because you just make your hand straight.
It's called fisting.
That's not fisting.
Oh, that's not the mouth? No. Oh, you want to tell everybody in the world what fisting is? April Fools.
If you're curious, Google it.
Yes, Google it. All right. I was reading some articles, and 3 in 4 marijuana consumers say they trust that product from licensed retailers are free of contaminants. And this was a poll. A recent NUG-MD survey reveals that 73% of marijuana consumers in legal states trust licensed retailers to provide contaminant-free products. However, experts caution the contamination can occur during cultivation, manufacturing, or storage, highlighting the importance of dispensaries conducting additional testing to ensure product safety. So, Mr. Weedman did a little research and said, okay, if 73% of people think their weed is not contaminated, let's find out where the hidden poisons are. Let's find out, is your pot safe? So the alarming truth about contaminated cannabis. Mm-hmm. Okay? This is the journalist. This journalist hates to say this, especially now when so many people rely on cannabis to cope with life. But you need to hear it straight. Not all legal cannabis products are safe. Not all of it, not even most of it. Ooh. The products flooding both the legal and illicit markets today, especially vape cartridges, wax, and other concentrates, often contain a cocktail of pesticides, heavy metals, synthetic compounds, and other dangerous contaminants. And the worst part, you might be inhaling it right now, thinking it's medicine, thinking it's clean. We were promised that legalization would bring safety and regulations, but as investigations and independent lab tests have shown, that promise has been badly broken. Lab tested doesn't mean safe. Earlier this year, the Los Angeles Times launched a series of independent tests on over 150 cannabis products sold in California dispensaries. All of them state approved and supposed to be clean. What they found was staggering. More than half of all products tested had dangerous levels of pesticides, heavy metals, or other toxins. One legal vape cartridge contained 32 different pesticides, including some banned in the U.S. for decades. Exactly. The worst offenders, you guessed it.
Smoke that.
Well, the worst offenders are vape oils and concentrates. Why concentrates are so dangerous? Vape pens and concentrates are not just weed in stronger form. They're chemically stewed, and whatever's on the plant gets it concentrated right along with the THC. Let's break it down. Ready, break. Ready, break. If the flower had a trace amount of pesticides residue, the extraction process multiplies it, sometimes 10 times or more. Those toxins go into your lungs in vapor form, bypassing your liver's natural detox filters and going straight into the bloodstream and brain. When heated, some pesticides residue transform into poisonous gases, including hydrogen cyanide, a compound used in chemical warfare. Even more alarming, in some concentrates, labs found synthetic THC and vitamin E acetate, a thickening agent that has been linked to 68 deaths and 2,800 cases of serious lung injury since 2019's vape crisis. We've talked all about that. What these poisons are doing to your body. Let's be very clear. There are not mild side effects. Many of the pesticides and additives found in cannabis today have been linked to cancer, Parkinson's disease, neurological damage, hormone disruption, respiratory failure, infertility, and multiple sclerosis. And it's kind of funny because all those on the list is what cannabis is supposed to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's not that funny. In one study, marijuana only users had higher levels of lead and cadmium. Cadmium? How do you say it?
Ketamine?
No, cadmium. Cadmium? Cadmium, thank you. In their blood, both metals that can cause lasting damage to the brain, kidneys, and nervous systems. This isn't fear-mongering. This is science. Science. And it's even worse when you realize that cannabis is hyperaccumulator, a plant that absorbs and stores toxic compounds from soil, water, and air at very high rates. Hemp, great for cleaning the soil. It absorbs all that. You don't want to use that if they're using it to clean the soil. It's so efficient at soaking up toxins that it's even been used to clean up nuclear waste sites. Now imagine concentrating those toxins into a vape cart. Why this crisis exists? You might be wondering, how did we let this happen? The short answer is capitalism, greed, and weak regulations. Profits and margins. Said this how many times? It's not about the plant anymore. It's about what?
Margins
and profits.
How much money you can make.
Monies. Because cannabis is still federally illegal, there is no national safety standards. Each state has its own testing rules, and they're widely inconsistent. A product that fails in Colorado might pass in Cali. Many states don't even test for dozens of the carcinogens. Growers looking to maximize profits often cut corners, spraying crops with banned pesticides, bombing grow rooms with toxic foggers, mixing clean weed with dirty batches to boost weight. Even worse, some growers use Chinese-sourced synthetic pesticides banned in the U.S., and regulators often look the other way. As the LA Times reported, California's system failed to catch or stop many of these contaminated products from being sold, even after they were flagged. 7 years into legalization, the state has clearly failed, one Santa Cruz County supervisor said in a public health emergency declaration. Harm reduction to protect yourself. So what can you do about it? For 99% of us, quitting cannabis is definitely not an option. Harm reduction is the next best thing. Here's how to lower your risk. Avoid vape cartridges and concentrates. They are the most dangerous products due to their concentration of toxins. Avoid black market carts or suspiciously cheap brands, like your snake oil salesman, your gas station stuff. Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time now. Choose solventless products or whole flower. We talked about solventless and solvents on the last episode. So products like rosin, dry sift, or sun-grown flower from trusted sources have fewer chemicals and less processing. Demand the full lab reports. Ask your dispensary for full results, not just THC and CBD levels, but pesticides, heavy metals, and solvent screenings. Look for the OCal certified cannabis in California. Since USDA organic certification isn't allowed for weed, California developed the OCal, an organic equivalent label with stricter testing and banned pesticide list.
Oh, and that's used in all states?
Just California. OCal.
Well, I mean, is it just a standard that we could use in other states? I don't see why not.
But they were saying how bad California's was with their standards. Right. OCal, though, is if you want to be equivalent
That's
to organic.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you took that OCal, you're an Illinois cultivator and you want to assure that your stuff is good, just you go the extra just follow the OCal standards. No, I would put like ill. Organic Illinois. You're not following. I'm following you. Instead of OCal, take the standards from California, put ill. That's that easy.
Here's the biggest one. Grow your fucking own weed. This is the safest way to ensure what you're consuming. You can produce your own hash, too, from your own weed. Just ask Wolfman. You can also source from someone in your community who grows clean, homegrown flowers, like Mr. Weedman. Use edibles or tinctures instead of vapes. Your liver can filter out toxins before reaching your brain and lungs. It's not perfect, but it's better than direct inhalation. Or grow your own weed, make your own butter. So much better than distillate. So much better. Ask Mrs. Weedman.
Or find a neighbor to grow your weed.
Yeah. Like I said.
Find your neighborhood gardener.
Yes. And then throw into the cause.
Yeah.
You know?
Contribute.
Final thoughts. You deserve to know. We thought for legalization, believing it would make cannabis safer, cleaner, and more accessible. And yes, fewer people are being locked up for possession. And that's a win. But the truth is, capitalism has corrupted cannabis. And without strict oversight, regulation, and community-led action, people are getting sick. We all deserve better. If you've been vaping regularly, I urge you to stop now. I know people who use cannabis will share this. Share this, what I've just read. Just if they don't listen to podcasts at all, just play this part for them. Here it is. Ready? Grow together. Share safely. Stay vigilant. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Marco. Good writer. Banger. Prisons. The prison system.
Yeah, this is a big one.
The hidden economy. We all kind of know this. Like why they keep people in prison. $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a prisoner. It's a revenue generator, right? Is that kind of, am I right?
Yeah.
A little bit, right? So what's the hidden economy of private prisons? How cannabis offenders fuel corporate profits. And now you know why they probably don't want to get rid of those 40,000 people why they don't want to stop arresting people, because it's the easiest way to bust people, right? Kind of
an easy way.
Tell us about it, Mrs Weedman.
As cannabis legalization sweeps across the United States, a dark irony persists. Thousands remain behind bars for activities that are now legal and profitable in many states. Beyond the obvious injustice, there's a troubling economic reality. Private prisons continue to profit from the incarceration and labor of nonviolent cannabis offenders. This article examines the intersection of cannabis prohibition, mass incarceration, and prison labor, revealing a system where corporate interests benefit from human confinement rather than rehabilitation. Despite changing attitudes and laws, cannabis prohibition continues to fuel America's mass incarceration crisis. The numbers tell a disturbing story. Approximately 40,000 Americans remain incarcerated for cannabis-related offenses, according to estimates from Last Prisoner Project. Nonviolent drug offenses account for roughly 45% of the federal prison population. Nonviolent drug offenses. 45%.
Busting people for dime bags. What's wrong with you?
It's ridiculous. At the state level, about 14 to 15% of prisoners, or approximately 190,000 people, are serving time primarily for drug offenses. That's disturbing. Black Americans are 3.73 times more likely than white Americans to be arrested for cannabis possession, despite similar usage rates across racial groups. In some states with 3 strike laws, individuals have received life sentences for what? Possession of cannabis.
Terrible.
Not selling it, not growing it, not transferring it illegally, just having it on them. A life sentence. What is criminal about that? What are you doing to the public that is harmful? Tell me. I don't understand how that's justifiable. The average sentence length for federal cannabis offenses is nearly 5 years. I'm sorry, but I'm going to go back to this, because if you are carrying a drug and you choose to use a drug, who is it affecting? You. Yes, drugs can destroy families and relationships. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying ultimately, who is it affecting? Who's making the choice? The user is making the choice to use, and we have that freedom to do that. I can go drive a car recklessly. I can jump off a bridge.
Now there's consequences.
I can bungee. Right. There's always consequences, but it's a freaking choice, a freedom. They're drugs. I understand that rules were put into place because of self-harm or the dangers to the public, kids, things like that. There can be rules, but having to go to jail over a drug is ridiculous. It ruins lives. Okay, back on track. The average sentence is nearly 5 years. Cannabis arrests still account for over 30%. Cannabis account for over 30% of all drug arrests nationwide, even as legalization spreads. The human toll extends beyond those currently incarcerated. According to the Drug Policy Alliance, over 15 million Americans have been arrested for cannabis offenses since 1995.
That's crazy.
That is 30 years, 15 million people. These arrests and convictions create permanent records that impact housing, employment, education, and child custody, even in states that have since legalized cannabis. Wow. As the legal cannabis industry generates billions
Would it be
in revenue, $25 billion in the year 2021 alone. Those who engaged in the same activities just years earlier remain behind bars, though, often working for pennies per hour to benefit, get this, private corporations. Did you ever think about that? Did you ever think about that? Private prisons have transformed incarceration into a business model with multiple revenue streams. What happened to it's kind of like government programs, like subsidies that help people who are in down times, like welfare, housing vouchers.
Right.
Those are all programs that were put into place to help you during hardships. They're not handouts, they're hand-ups. It is an effort to help you get through a challenge and help you get back on your feet and get going. They're not meant to be used for years and years or a lifetime or to learn how to work the system and benefit from it. They're programs to help.
Right.
Prison should be thought of that way. It's a program to help. You bring people there if they're dangerous and a danger to society themselves, people, yeah, keep them in there. But for drugs, how come we're not reforming people?
They'd rather
right?
keep them in prison.
Because they make money.
Yes.
So let's talk more about that. First, there are government contracts and occupancy guarantees. This is like a private program. It's a corporation, really, the jail, right? So private prison companies, so this is a prison. It's a private company. They typically receive $50 to $150 per prisoner per day from government contracts. Many of these contracts include lockup quotas or minimum occupancy guarantees. So it's like a bank. Often 90% or higher. So they need to occupy that jail 90% or higher or they lose their government money.
Yep.
They don't want anyone to go home. This is creating financial incentives to keep prisons full, regardless of crime rates or rehabilitation success. Second, there's prison labor. Let's call it modern exploitation. Prison labor represents one of the most troubling profit centers. Incarcerated individuals often work for wages ranging from 33 cents to $1.41 per hour, with some states paying nothing at all. This labor, the money that they are moving through the prison, benefits Unicor, which is the federal prison industries, generating approximately $500 million in annual sales. The prison is a really successful company, $500 million in annual sales. And state prison industries, operating similar programs that generate additional revenue. And there are private corporations receiving discounted labor for manufacturing, agriculture, services. I mean, to think about this, some might say, maybe I would even say, they're prisoners. They don't deserve to make money. Well, guess what? Those prisoners are dads, moms, sisters, brothers, sons, husbands, wives. They have children at home. They have families that might need help. If they're working and it's improving their behavior and it's improving their mind and it is making them a healthier citizen, why can't they be benefited? You know, even if that money, some portion goes to them and then the other portion goes to a designated place, family or whatever. Why can't they? It's an argument and there's more to it. But when you know that $500 million is being profited off of them and our tax money is paying for these facilities, right?
Right.
So why are they profiting?
Shouldn't be.
Right. The 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, contains a notable exception. Except as a punishment. So this is crazy. I didn't know this. except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall be duly convicted. So basically, if you're in prison, you get to be a slave. That's what the 13th Amendment says. Wow. This loophole has enabled the continuation of forced labor within the prison system, creating what many critics call modern-day slavery. Industries benefiting from prison labor include agriculture, harvesting crops and processing food products, manufacturing, producing furniture, clothing, and electronics, call centers, providing customer service for major corporations. How about that? Firefighting. In California, incarcerated people fight wildfires for $2 to $5 per day. They get an extra $1 an hour if they're actively fighting a fire. Most of these meager wages are then garnished for court fees. I think that's fair, but the wage maybe could be higher. Victim restitution and room and board, leaving incarcerated people with little to support themselves or their families. A 2022 ACLU report found that the average incarcerated worker in state prisons receives only 52 cents per hour. In at least 7 states, regular prison jobs are unpaid entirely. So, third, there are additional revenue streams. Private prisons have developed numerous supplementary income sources. The commissary and services, they mark up prices for basic necessities. Communication services by charging families inflated rates for phone calls and video visits. And stock value and investor returns. Companies like Core Civic, formerly CCA, and GEO Group are publicly traded and focus on maintaining high occupancy rates to satisfy shareholders. It's a vicious cycle, really, and the relationship between cannabis prohibition, private prisons, and prison labor creates a disturbing cycle. The term prison industrial complex describes the overlapping interests of government and industry that use surveillance, policing, and imprisonment as solutions to economic, social, and political problems. This system has several key players. You've got the private prison corporations that control about 75% of the private prison market in the U.S. There's lobbying efforts. Between the years 2000 and 2019, the private prison industry spent over $25 million on lobbying efforts. Politicians, many receive campaign contributions from prison industry groups. How about that? And corporations benefit from prison labor while often supporting tough-on-crime legislation. Yeah, because they've got cheap labor. The private prison industry exerts significant political influence. Core Civic and GEO Group spent a combined $1.6 million on lobbying in the year 2020 alone. These companies have historically donated to campaigns supporting stricter drug laws. Yeah, because that occupancy.
90%. Right?
Several states have passed truth in sentencing and mandatory minimum laws after lobbying from these groups. This cycle creates powerful economic incentives to maintain cannabis prohibition and resist criminal justice reforms that would reduce prison populations. There's a human cost, though. Beyond the statistics lie thousands of human stories. People incarcerated for cannabis offenses often face separation from families and communities, loss of voting rights and future employment opportunities, mental health challenges from imprisonment, exploitation through labor programs that provide minimal compensation, and find it difficult to reintegrate into society after release. Meanwhile, others are profiting from the very same substance, weed, that led to the incarceration of these people. The legal cannabis industry is projected to reach $30 billion in annual sales by 2025. Yet those who participated in the cannabis economy before legalization remain behind bars, often working for pennies to benefit private corporations. Addressing this issue requires a multifaceted approach, beginning with policy and legislative changes, like federal cannabis decriminalization and expungement of prior convictions, sentencing reforms to reduce incarceration for nonviolent drug offenses, phasing out or strictly regulating private prison contracts, mandating minimum wage payment for all prison labor, eliminating 3 strikes laws, that result in life sentences for nonviolent offenses, removing mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses, and reforming the 13th Amendment to close the prison labor exception. There are current reform efforts in action. Several promising initiatives are underway, like the MORE Act, which is the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act, and that would decriminalize cannabis at the federal level and create pathways for expungement. There's also the First Step Act, passed in 2018, that reduced some mandatory minimums for nonviolent drug offenses, and state-level reforms in place, like the California Proposition 64, and the Illinois is now including automatic expungement provisions. And we have the Prison Industry Enhancement Certification Program, which requires that some prison labor programs pay prevailing wages, though it covers only a small percentage of prison workers. And there's ways to hold corporations accountable, too, by pressuring companies to disclose and eliminate prison labor from their supply chains, by divesting from private prison companies that profit from cannabis prohibition, by supporting businesses that prioritize hiring formerly incarcerated individuals, by creating certification programs for prison labor-free products, by advocating, why isn't there something like that? Prison labor-free products, like a little logo.
Yeah, should be.
And by advocating, or why don't they have to say that they are, if they are, by advocating for shareholder resolutions requiring transparency in labor practices. And with community support, there can be changes too, by providing legal assistance for challenging exploitative prison labor practices, by establishing re-entry programs specifically for those incarcerated on cannabis charges, by creating entrepreneurship funds for those affected by both cannabis prohibition and prison labor, by supporting organizations like the Last Prisoner Project, which works to free cannabis prisoners. And just on a side note, you can go to 8decades.com and donate right on our site. We partner with them. Yep. And by developing trauma-informed mental health services for those who have experienced incarceration. So let's wrap this up with a couple of success stories. When Illinois legalized recreational cannabis in 2020, the state included automatic expungement for approximately 700,000 cannabis-related records. Governor J.B. Pritzker pardoned thousands of individuals with low-level cannabis convictions. Additionally, 25% of cannabis tax revenue was designated for the Restore, Reinvest, and Renew, or R3 program, which provides resources to communities harmed by violence, excessive incarceration, and economic disinvestment. Another good story is the Last Prisoner Project has provided legal assistance to numerous individuals serving sentences for cannabis offenses. Their work has led to several high-profile releases, including Michael Thompson, who served 25 years of a 40 to 60-year sentence in Michigan for selling marijuana. After his release, Thompson has become an advocate for others in similar situations. The intersection of cannabis prohibition, mass incarceration, and prison labor represents one of America's most troubling injustices. The economic incentives perpetuating this system, from private prison contracts to virtually free labor, create powerful opposition to meaningful reform. However, the growing cannabis legalization movement has created a unique opportunity to address these interconnected issues. As cannabis transitions from contraband to commodity, the stark contrast between those profiting from legal sales and those imprisoned for the same substance highlights the fundamental injustice of the current system. As consumers, voters, and community members, we have both the responsibility and the power to challenge the system. By raising awareness, supporting reform legislation, and demanding corporate accountability, we can work toward a justice system focused on rehabilitation rather than profit, and ensure that no one remains incarcerated for activities that are increasingly recognized as legitimate business ventures. The first step is awareness. By understanding how prison profits from cannabis prohibition and prison labor, we can begin to dismantle a system that values corporate profits over human potential. The second step is action, leveraging our voices, votes, and consumer choices to create pressure for changes at every system level.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah. That was a lot of stuff I didn't know, and a lot of stuff I did know, and a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed.
That's it.
Yeah. The cannabis technique has the weed world divided. The cannabis term washing has historically referred to the step in artisanal hash making, but add one word and the phrase has a new meaning. Many cultivators are washing their weed the same way they do vegetables, in process called bud washing has been publicized more in the last few years, and camps of cultivators are divided for and against it. If you have dirty weed that's by a dusty road or powder mildew or spider mites, then go ahead and wash. Jason Gelman, second-generation cannabis farmer and owner of Ridgeline Farm, said in a message. Otherwise, big no-no. What is bud washing? Bud washing cannabis consists of dunking or harvested cannabis stem, flowers, and all in bucket of clean water. It is believed to rinse out dust or bugs accumulated in the natural, organic, or outdoor growing cycle. Others do multiple dunks beyond pure reverse osmosis water. This process starts with submerging the harvest underwater. Then use a hydrogen peroxide solution, a disinfectant, to clean the residual powdery mildew before one more water dunk in pure water. Not all the cultivators surveyed in this article were aware or down for bud washing, akin to rinsing salad, but they had heard of H2O2 and mitigate powdery mildew. None recommended it. The jury is still out on the exact impact of regular inhaling heated H2O2, making it a suspect for patients with compromised immune, pulmonary, and cardiovascular systems. Pure water bud washing has not yet shown harm. If sprays have been applied during the last week, which is not recommended, mist plants heavily to wash of undesirable residuals that may have accumulated on the foliage. The bath will not affect resin production. Gently jiggle buds after rinsing to shake off any standing water. The legendary cultivator recommends washing early in the day to avoid when plants come nightfall. He also warns against ever wetting buds with signs of bud rot. His cannabis cultivation tome makes no mention of hydrogen peroxide. While this seems to recommend spraying plants before cutting, modern bud washing happens right after the plant is chopped. Do so any later will interrupt the curing process. Be gentle with the stem and flowers to avoid disturbing trichomes when washing. Give them a dunk and quick swirling. Shake in the water, nothing more. However, some may recommend avoiding it altogether. What does bud washing do? One camp of longtime sun-grown cultivators believes the quick dip won't impact trichome, provided it is cool water or room. Others are convinced that it creates breeding ground for mildew, not willing to risk it. However, many sun-grown farmers have harvested in rainstorms and argue that the bud washing is no different. Those who look at the many after photos often consider trying it out. Several social media threads are dedicated to this topic, some spurring debate and others culling agreement. Many are paired with damming before and after pictures of the water laden with dirt, debris, bugs, or even unidentified film. Many reject the concept in the face of those before and after photos, and rightfully so. Cannabis cultivators manage moisture content down to the droplet to avoid mildew, bud rot, and other plant diseases. That the idea of dunking flowers into the bucket of water sounds sacrilege. Still, it's cherished by part of the harvest for a large group of growers, and some claim it makes the weed taste better. One Redditor posted that some who sample his bud washed flower claim it has more flavor and smoke smoother. A commentator agreed that stated that the dirty sift was shades lighter after bud washing. They believe that lighter color is due to fewer bugs, their poop, house dust, and other debris. When asked about bud washing contributing to mold growth, outdoor farmers compare it to harvesting during rainstorms. Both expose buds to an equal amount of water, and many farmers have pulled off the rainstorm harvest issues. Those who bud wash should give a stem a shake and remove some water from inside the calyxes and let it drip dry before the usual curing process. As Severantis mentioned, do this early in the morning so the plants can dry before temps cool at night. Bud washing is a somewhat controversial topic in the cultivation space. Skeptical farmers are adamant they will never wash buds. Still, growers practicing this at harvest will not be disused from continuing. Both camps are firmly divided. When it comes to homegrown for personal use, to each their own. But as far as consumer-facing sun-grown go, the conversation of bud washing may be worth having. I've never bud washed before. I know people that do, though.
We
Like-
considered it on those auto flowers that I did.
outside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I grew them outside,
Yes.
but I wasn't brave enough to do it. I feel like you'd almost have to have like they were saying, if you washed it in the morning and it could sit before the
Right.
night and it getting cold,
Right.
you might be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's
you'd
a
have,
lot
I feel
of
like you'd
people
have
I
to
know
like
that
turn
do
the
it.
plant upside down
You
so
do.
it can drip
Oh
dry.
yeah. But there's a lot of people I know that do it. They just it's quick. Some people
it
do the
is.
3. Some people do the 3.
Yeah.
Just in,
Boom,
out,
boom, boom.
in, out, in for the rinse. Give it a little shake.
Mhm.
Hang it.
And then hang it.
Yep.
Hmm.
So, there's some people that do it
We
outdoor
should try it with just a couple branches.
and see it.
Yeah. And then
just
like
see what it looks like.
Like have 2/3 of the batch be
Right.
unwashed and 1/3 is washed, and then just see.
Yeah, I
how
mean, the
it
only reason why I would
smokes,
do
how
it,
it
the only reason,
cures.
because we grow indoor, and the only reason why I would do it is for any kind of dust that it collects, from being in the tent, not being the fans blowing and stuff like that, and stuff coming,
It would be very little.
Yeah, like I'm saying, very little, but that's the only thing I'd be concerned about is some of the dust I got on there. That's it,
Yeah.
So, the future of cannabis and what? Sleep medicine.
Sleep medicine.
We've talked a lot about sleep and cannabis, so this is a very interesting article, and I've read a few articles lately that actually they're saying cannabis doesn't help with sleep. Yeah, it actually
CBD.
Yeah, go to CBD
Different
instead.
terpenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the future of cannabis and sleep medicine. Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah. Have you ever wondered how cannabis might play a role in improving your rest? Well, what if there was a natural, effective alternative to traditional medications for better relaxation? As the world of sleep medicine evolves, cannabis is becoming an increasingly popular option for those struggling with sleep disorders. Thanks to its natural properties, this plant offers a promising path to better rest, with the potential to reshape the future of sleep medicine. So let's talk about how cannabis supports restful sleep. The best strains for sleep often contain a balanced combination of THC and CBD, the 2 primary compounds that have been linked to improved rest quality in multiple studies. THC is known for its ability to relax both the body and mind, making it easier to unwind and fall asleep. It can also extend the time spent in deep, restorative stages of rest. On the other hand, CBD works to reduce anxiety and stress, which are common causes of insomnia. By addressing both the mental and physical factors that interfere with rest, cannabis offers a holistic approach to improving relaxation. In addition to aiding in sleep onset and depth, it may help alleviate disruptions caused by chronic pain, anxiety, or even nightmares in PTSD patients. For those searching for natural remedies, cannabis is quickly emerging as a powerful tool in the world of medicine. Depending on your needs, the right strain for sleep can vary. While indica strains are generally favored for their deep, relaxing effects, hybrid strains offer a balance of relaxation without overwhelming sedation. For those who struggle with both falling asleep and staying asleep, strains high in both THC and CBD are popular choices. THC is beneficial for falling asleep, while CBD may help maintain consistent, uninterrupted cycles of rest. Terpene profiles also play a significant role in determining the effects of cannabis, with terpenes like myrcene and linalool known for their calming properties. As the cannabis industry continues to grow, dispensaries are offering personalized recommendations based on individual needs, helping you find the right strain for better relaxation. CBD is rapidly becoming a cornerstone in the world of sleep medicine. Unlike THC, CBD is non-psychoactive and does not cause the high typically linked to cannabis. This makes it an appealing option for people looking to improve their rest without feeling intoxicated. Research shows that CBD may help improve the quality of rest by reducing anxiety, promoting relaxation, and even alleviating symptoms of conditions that disrupt rest, such as pain or insomnia. It is often taken in tincture or capsule form, allowing for precise dosing. As a result, CBD is gaining popularity, not only as a sleep aid, but also as a long-term solution for maintaining a consistent rest routine. Prescription aids have long been the go-to solution for those suffering from insomnia and other rest disorders. However, they come with a range of side effects from grogginess to dependency. Cannabis offers a natural alternative that is both effective and less likely to cause adverse reactions. As more people look for alternatives to traditional sleep medicines, cannabis is becoming an increasingly popular choice. Unlike prescription drugs, cannabis works with the body's natural systems, reducing the likelihood of dependence. Additionally, it helps with the underlying causes of sleep issues, such as anxiety and pain, making it a more holistic approach to rest medicine. The shift toward natural remedies signals a growing demand for plant-based sleep solutions. The future of sleep medicine looks brighter as cannabis continues to gain acceptance in this field. In the future, more advanced research into cannabis's specific effects on rest can be expected, leading to better, more targeted treatments. With the rise of personalized medicine, cannabis will likely become a more tailored solution, offering customized blends of THC, CBD, and terpenes to address specific issues. The future may also see the development of new delivery methods that make it easier and more efficient for consumers to experience restful sleep. Whether through edibles, tinctures, or even sleep-enhancing topicals, innovations in product formulations will make cannabis more accessible and effective than ever before. With increasing recognition of this plant's benefits in sleep medicine, it is likely to become a cornerstone in achieving natural restorative rest. The future of cannabis as sleep medicine is bright, with endless possibilities for enhancing the quality of rest for those struggling with sleep issues. As delivery methods improve, it will become a more valuable tool for improving sleep and overall wellness. That's what
You love it for sleep.
Yeah, I sure do.
You do.
Yep.
What I was reading, combating what this article was talking about and a few other articles, and we've read a lot about cannabis and sleep. They were saying that it doesn't get you to that full sleep that your body needs.
You don't get to REM.
Right. And that's what the argument is about. I don't know. When I fall fucking asleep, I mean, of course,
sleeping.
Yeah, I'm out. But they say it's more of a light sleep. It doesn't take you to that sleep. I don't think so. Me too.
I'm not waking up. Nothing's waking me up.
It might be per person. Could be per person.
I'm sleeping.
I don't
dream. When I have my dreams is when I hit my snooze button and I'm in that light sleep in the morning. And your dream state is your REM sleep, right?
Yeah.
So they're saying that that's a better sleep, but when you're dreaming, I think it's worse. I feel like my sleep is disturbed because
you always feel like you're falling from a cliff.
Well, because dreams they're vivid, so that you're like active,
right.
So like I don't feel it's.
I don't know. Once I'm asleep, I'm
restful.
out. I don't hear shit.
I like just sleeping.
Yeah, man.
And not knowing anything until
that. CBN, THC gummy we take, or your edibles, your heavy dosed edibles. Whew, man. I don't even move. There was one night I think we woke up and I don't think the covers were even moved.
Just like a corpse.
Oh shit. So shift to outdoor marijuana cultivation could cut industry emissions by up to 76%. We've talked about this, like how much emissions that the cannabis industry brings out. But greenhouse gas emissions from the legal marijuana industry have climbed so quickly in recent years that it is now equal to about 10 million cars, according to a newly published study into the energy emissions of cannabis production. A switch from indoor to outdoor grow, however, could lessen the environmental impact by lower emissions as much as 76%. That's according to North California's based research Evan Mills, who has spent years building a model of the legal cannabis industry's energy inputs and emissions outputs. All told, his new paper in the Journal of One Earth concludes that energy use by this sector is on par with that of all the other crop production, and that the marijuana industry represents 1% of the total national emissions from all sectors of the economy. Still, 1%.
1%.
Yeah. Compared to other industries, the study continues. Direct on-site use of fuels and electricity by the cannabis industry is 4 times that of a domestic use by the U.S. pharmaceutical industry and beverage and tobacco manufacturing. Energy use is a third of what it used by data centers nationally, it adds, and 1.5 times that the cryptocurrency mining. Whew.
That takes a lot of energy.
Yeah. It's all computer hardware that's just running and running and running and mining. Yep, all processing. Mill's life cycle analytics includes not just cultivation itself, but also transportation, retail, and waste disposal. Cannabis has become the most energy and carbon intensive crop, the author wrote, as cultivation has shifted from open fields to indoors coverings as areas of 5 million square feet. That's 270 average Walmart stores.
Whoa.
Yeah. In the U.S., the physical footprint he noted, is greater than that dedicated to artificially lit food production and floriculture across the country. So I'm just going to read this real quick. Just like annual U.S. direct energy, number 1 is chemicals. Number 2 is petroleum and coal products. 3 is paper. 4 is primary metals. 5 is data centers. 6 is food. 7 is artificial intelligence.
Wow, it's already up there.
Non-metallic mineral products, open field agricultural, non-cannabis, and then cannabis cultivation.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's right behind agriculture. And agriculture's been
going
forever.
And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 underneath that, under cannabis. Yep. So, Evan Mills, One Earth, but not all cannabis production is equally responsible for energy use and emissions. Mills reports asserts that 90% of marijuana-related emissions come from indoor grows, which are far more energy-intensive than outdoor cultivation. Indoor cultivation can also yield worse outcomes for indoor and outdoor air quality, power grids, waste production, water use, energy costs, worker safety, and environmental justice. As far as reforms go, the new paper says federal legalization of marijuana would achieve only modest reductions in energy and emissions, about 8% overall, though it notes a national level reform could enable more potent policies. The most promising is a pivotal way from indoor grows toward outdoor cultivation. Emissions have risen substantially despite widespread state levels legalization efforts, which suggest that relying on market forces alone is not a viable climate energy for this industry, the report says. More targeted policy initiatives are needed to manage emissions, and the greatest potential lies in guiding the industry towards a much larger share of open field cultivation. Additional policy shifts that could reduce emissions include increased home growing of cannabis, wider use of greenhouses by cultivators, use of more energy-efficient varieties of the plant, implementation of on-site solar, and other updates. But there's also a risk of increasing emissions in the new legal cannabis era. For example, if more marijuana is grown indoors or if more products are delivered directly to consumers' doors, emissions would rise under this model. If half of all sales were done through deliveries, that would increase emissions by 4%, the study says. Meanwhile, if a quarter of all outdoor-grown cannabis were shifted indoors, that would lead to a 10% emissions increase. Key upward pressure include rising demand for cannabis, changes in industry structures, revision of legal producers to the illicit market where electricity sources can be dirtier and less efficient. A response to what are perceived as overzealous regulations and the trend towards directive products that embody added processing energy, the report says. Mills said that while consumers have access to information about energy consumptions around other types of products, that information typically isn't available for cannabis. Consumers don't know any of this, he told the Washington Post. They know that the car is labeled with how many miles per gallon it gets, or a refrigerator has Energy Star labeled, but there's zero consumer information about cannabis. One factor the new analysis doesn't account for is interstate commerce, which lawmakers could approve as part of the federal legalization or separately. That would allow regions better suited to outdoor cannabis cultivation to grow more marijuana outdoors and sell it elsewhere. Mills modeled the federal legalization doesn't dig into the dynamic. The full legalization case, his paper says, does not model the possible effect of relaxing restrictions on interstate commerce or other policies that could be deployed in the legal market. Nevertheless, it continues. In the event that interstate transport bans were lifted, related questions would be whether states with climates that do not favor open field cultivation would opt instead to import from other states where it is more feasible and where indoor cultivation is less energy intensive. Currently, the paper notes cultivation is trending the wrong direction. Large-scale legal indoor cultivation is increasingly concentrated in environmental overburdened urban areas, it says, as seen in Oakland and Denver, each of which host about 200 sanctioned plant factory operations. Jeez. The new study comes on the heels of separate research last year's finding that outdoor cannabis agriculture can be 50 times less carbon emitting than indoor production.
50%.
Yep. Authors of the report published that in the Journal of Agriculture, Science, and Technology noted that while a handful of studies have examined indoor marijuana production, very little known is about the impact of outdoor cannabis agriculture. Dissemination of this knowledge is of utmost importance for producers, consumers, and governmental officials in the nation that have ever either legalized or will legalize cannabis production, they wrote. The environmental impact of cannabis production are often overlooked by policymakers, industry, and consumers alike. Some bodies have stepped up efforts to lessen the footprint of cultivation. Attempts to protect those critical ecosystems, this report is saying, will fail as long as those committed to environmental protections neglect to recognize and grapple with the elephant in the room, namely the global system of criminalized drug prohibition, properly known as the war on drugs. In an interview with Marijuana Moment at the time of pro-legalization, Representative Jared Huffman said that there are some important nuances when it comes to cannabis policy and the environment. He said that even amid extreme drought conditions in California, there are water sources that should be providing resources to the community and industry that are instead being diverted by illicit grows. We have not done a very good job of lifting up the legal market so that we can eliminate the black market, and the black market has really unacceptable environmental impacts, he said at that time. California itself has taken some specific steps to get rid of this issue. For example, officials announced in 2021 they were soliciting concept proposals for marijuana tax fund programs amid at helping small cannabis cultivators with environmental cleanup and restoration efforts. And in New York, set rules meant to promote environmental awareness, for example, by requiring businesses to submit environmental sustainability programs and explore the possibility of reusing cannabis packaging. Lawmakers there also explored promoting the industry's recycling programs and cannabis packaging made from hemp rather than synthetic plastics, though neither proposal was enacted. So that's a big issue. I've talked about this before in some episodes long ago about the emissions that we need to do better, right? I've said this about packaging. I've said this about how much waste we use, energy waste. So and why? See, we just talked about it a little bit ago. Mm-hmm. Profits and margins. Forget about the environment. Forget about the health of the people. Capitalism, corporations care about one thing.
Mass production and profit.
And margins. So the marijuana component, CBD, reduces epileptic seizures at twice the rate of a placebo. A new scientific review shows. Tell us about it, Mrs Weedman.
Yes. A newly published scientific research review that analyzed 6 studies on the use of marijuana component cannabidiol, or CBD, to address treatment-resistant epilepsy, finds that patients who took CBD experienced more than a 40% average reduction in seizures. That's compared to an average reduction of just 20% in patients who received a placebo. This represents a 127% higher response rate for patients who received the intervention, wrote authors of the study, published this month in the journal Acta Epidemiologica. The compiled analysis showed that the patients who received cannabidiol experienced a 41% reduction in the total number of seizures, the report says, compared to an average reduction of 18% in placebo groups. Given these results, it is possible to conclude that the therapeutic response of cannabidiol is worthy of consideration in new protocols and of being added to public healthcare systems for its anti-epileptic potential, it adds. The new review was authored by a team of 4 researchers from Brazil universities. Of the 6 studies they analyzed, 5 compared specific low-dose and higher-dose CBD treatments. The higher dose treatment of 20 milligrams of CBD per kilogram of body mass per day demonstrated superior seizure control, the team wrote. 12% greater, they noted, but pointed out that the lower dose of 10 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day also showed significant efficacy, making it a viable option for inclusion in treatment and guidelines as well. Reported side effects were generally mild, with the most frequent being drowsiness, decreased appetite, and diarrhea. Based on the results from the analyzed studies, the report says, it can be concluded that the addition of CBD to the treatment regimen for patients with pharmacoresistant epilepsy is beneficial in most cases. One way to explain the benefits observed even in the placebo group is through patients' mental state, including stress and emotion. Because these were double-blind studies, and epilepsy is a debilitating condition that causes great distress to the patient and their families. Everyone has a strong desire for improvement, the review says. It is even noted that many patients relocated to Ohio to participate in the study, This level of effort reflects the family's desire for a better quality of life and may partially explain the notable efficacy observed in the placebo groups. Authors of the report wrote that in Brazil, not only is CBD not yet part of official treatment algorithms, but all the CBD used in the selected studies and those available in Brazil needed to be imported, which further complicates widespread adoption due to cost and availability issues. These barriers highlight the need for discussions on improving accessibility, they continued, and conducting local studies to adapt CBD use to the Brazilian context. In the U.S., meanwhile, CBD, as the pharmaceutical Epidiolex, is approved by the FDA for the treatment of certain rare forms of epilepsy. Charlotte Figge became a figurehead for the medical marijuana reform in the United States after the popularization of her story of using CBD as a treatment for Dravet syndrome. Charlotte unfortunately passed away in 2020, but her family continues the fight for CBD and continues their work with the brand Charlotte's Web. Separately, a review published late last year in the medical journal Medical Cannabis and Cannabinoids found treatment-resistant pediatric epilepsy to be among a number of ailments for which high CBD, low THC cannabis improved children's quality of life. A separate study by researchers from DePaul University in Chicago drew on industry data to examine what conditions qualify minors for state legal medical cannabis programs, finding that epilepsy was a more common reason for obtaining a medical marijuana recommendation among minors than it was among young adults aged 18 to 20. A 2021 study of epilepsy patients who used non-prescription CBD products, meanwhile, found that they reported a higher quality of life and better sleep than patients who did not take the cannabinoid. That report, published in the peer-reviewed journal Epilepsy and Behavior, also concluded that patients who used CBD products better tolerated epilepsy medications. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They used fewer prescription medications overall and experienced reduced psychiatric symptoms, such as anxiety. That's fantastic. Notably, no significant differences in seizure control were observed in that study between patients who used CBD and those who did not, but authors noted that both groups included a high number of individuals with no past month seizures. These findings further emphasize the need for controlled research to determine optimal CBD product types, doses, and concomitant use. I don't know. I've never seen that word. Concomitant use of other medications that maximize possible clinical benefit while minimizing potential risks, the report said. So, yeah, I don't know what that word means. But CBD for the win.
Always for the win.
Yeah.
I mean, you use it. You like it.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
You do that ratio during the day sometimes when your joints need it.
Yep.
It helps, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks, Mrs. Weedman.
Sure.
Political, state, and business news. A reckoning is underway in Oklahoma medical marijuana market. Over a 12-month period through July 2024, the number
Oklahoma, sorry.
of commercial MMJ businesses in the state decreased by, I guess Mrs. Weedman really likes Oklahoma, by nearly 40% according to the fiscal year 2024 annual report, recently published by the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority. Through July 2024, the total number of licensed MMJ operators totaled 6,937, down from 11,330 a year earlier. Licensed medical cultivators, dispensary, and processors all experienced significant shifts over a 12-month period. Growers' permits fell to 3,645, down nearly 44% from 6,497 in July 2023. Licensed dispensaries dropped 27% from 2,852 to 2,051. MMJ processing licenses decreased 39% from 1,792 in July of 2023 to 1,092 a year later. The licensing decline was first reportedly by the Tulsa World. Meanwhile, the number of registered MMJ patients declined by 2.5% during a 12-month period from 353,000 to 344,000. So you have all this still open, but you're not even your patient count's not even going up. But you have I don't know how all these businesses are surviving, like barely. I mean, when you have that much open and only 344,000 customers. Oof, yikes. Texas Lieutenant Governor says he'll push for special session to pass hemp production ban. Man, they're just like, it's a $10 billion industry. And they want to just... Texas, come on. Arizona cracks down on illegal THC sales to begin April 24th, Attorney General says. Mays directed police agencies to begin enforcement of April 24th, according to Monday new release from the Attorney General's office. DEA promotes get this one, you ready? That they're supposed to deschedule, right? Or reschedule to Schedule 3, right? But now the DEA is promoting anti-420 day. Contest for young people to flood Instagram with marijuana warnings. Now, everybody, before I read, here's what you all need to do. Wait. You're going to pay people. Pay people. The DEA is going to pay young influencers and young people to flood Instagram with marijuana. I'm so glad I'm not on Instagram anymore, and social media anymore. On 420 day. They don't even got it right. Anti-420 day. It's like, it's not a day. It's the time.
It's a time.
So right there, DA, you know dookie. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. So here's what all you people that are on social media, when you see one of these people post this, click on them and click on you, restricting your restricted content. Spam it up. Get their shit blocked. Like they've been blocking us and getting us banned from social media. Start getting their they're promoting fucking weed. Get them out of here. That's what I would do.
I think I'll just take a little video of myself smoking a joint and blow smoke, and then put that on people as my comment on everybody.
So the DEA is promoting anti-420 day campaign, encouraging high school and college students to create short videos warning about the dangers of THC use. The initiative, organized by Johnny's Ambassadors, aims to flood Instagram with anti-marijuana messages on April 20th. Participants can earn up to $50 for their submissions. The DA supports the campaign through the JustThinkTwice.com platform, aiming to educate youth on the risks associated with THC products. I don't want my tax dollars going to pay for somebody to put fake anti-420 propaganda on their social media. And why are my tax dollars going to pay for this? First and foremost, Elon, whether you like the guy or not, go after the DEA. Stopping 420. What are you, fucking killing me here? Come on now. Whether you like Elon or not, I don't care. I'm just making a joke. But this is fucking bullshit. Complete bullshit. We will never get fucking cannabis rescheduled. I don't believe it anymore. After seeing that,
I think it's going to be impossible. There's too many hands in the pot that have different agendas, and if it goes legal, it hurts someone else's bottom line, and nobody, it's ridiculous.
Anti-420. Just smoke 420 every day at 4:20 p.m. Yeah. That is what 420 is about. It's not the date, everybody.
But the date is a fun.
It is a fun day. Don't get me wrong. Ma weed is born on 420. Right. So Ma 420. So I get it. I love 420. It's in my name. But to me, to see this is
it's maddening.
Yes. More than a quarter of pre-rolls in New Jersey exceed the state microbial limits for cannabis. Indiana's Senate committee approves billboard ban of marijuana ads. It has moved to the Senate Appropriation Committee for more debate. Pennsylvania taxpayers spend billions on marijuana criminalization while neighboring states reap the benefits of legalization. Pennsylvania, who wants to legalize cannabis altogether, needs to stop doing that. New Hampshire House passes marijuana legalization, psilocybin decriminalization, and medical cannabis expansion bills. Marijuana legalization, HB 198, allows adults 21 or older to possess cannabis through it doesn't establish a commercial market for cultivation and sales. Psilocybin decriminalization, HB 512, and then medical cannabis expansion. The House also approved measures to expand medical cannabis access, including increasing the purchase of possession limit for patients from 2 ounces to 4 ounces. Good for you, New Hampshire. Now legalize it all together, will you? Maryland lawmakers approved bills to let adults to make their own marijuana brownies and concentrates at home, like they weren't doing it already.
Right.
You allowed me. Maryland lawmakers have passed bills permitting adults to produce cannabis edibles and concentrates at home for personal use. The legislation introduced by delegates David Moon and Luke Klippeninger, along with Senator William Smith, expands existing laws that already allow personal cultivation of cannabis plants. The new measures prohibit the use of volatile solvents in creating concentrates. The House of Delegates approved the bill earlier this month, and Senate's Judicial Proceedings Committee passed it on Tuesday. The bill now moves to full Senate for consideration. Humboldt extends deadline for farmers to pay cannabis tax. We talked about it a couple episodes ago. County sales, it's the last time. The county says it's the last time, Mrs. Weedman. After hearing from concerned local growers, the board again decided to extend the deadline to settle Measures S tax bills. Growers who have entered into a payment plan with the county have until December 31st to pay off what they owe. Those who haven't made any payments, over 200 businesses, have until April 3rd to contribute something or losing their license. Ohio CBD retailers push back against efforts to limit hemp products to marijuana dispensaries. Ohio Senate Bill 86 proposes that intoxicating hemp products such as Delta 8 THC be sold exclusively at adult marijuana dispensaries. The legislation has raised concerns among CBD store owners who argue that it would eliminate up to 90% of their non-intoxicating full-spectrum hemp products. They fear this could drive consumers to unregulated online markets, posing safety risks and resulting in a significant tax revenue loss for the state. This bill also suggests imposing a 15% tax on intoxicating hemp products and enforcing age restrictions, limiting sales to individuals 21 and older. Minnesota could license hundreds of marijuana retailers, cultivators in the upcoming months. They received over 3,500 applications for cannabis businesses, including 1,444 social equity applicants and 2,085 during the recent application window. The state plans to issue licenses to hundreds of marijuana retailers and cultivators in the coming months. Licensing will proceed through a lottery system with qualified applicants for certain licenses types also to be advanced without entering the lottery. The OCM is currently reviewing applications, and more details on the licensing process are available on the official website. Minnesota's retail marijuana rules sent for final approval before license rollout, though. A judge will allow 14 days to approve, deny, or otherwise alter the rules. A final set of approved rules will be published in the state register, making them adopted and in effect. Georgia backs off THC drink ban instead of allowing sales in liquor stores. Good for you, Georgia. Let people get their weed somehow because you don't allow it, except for pharmacies that get to sell vape carts that you're just killing your people with instead of getting them the real shit, flower, which they all would rather have. How marijuana could blaze a new path for movie theaters. Facing declining post-pandemic attendance, some movie theaters are exploring innovative strategies to attract audiences. These include offering activities like pickleball, installing cocktail bars in lobbies, and even considering the sale of cannabis products at concession stands. In New York, officials are contemplating licensing charges that would allow theaters to sell and permit consumptions of marijuana during films. However, current regulations restrict cannabis sales to licensed dispensaries, and any shift to include theaters would require new permits and licenses, which are not yet allowed but are planned for the future. Also saying that they would just do smoke session times.
Like you could bring your own weed.
Yes, and but there'll be smoke session times. Like there'll be like certain shows that'll be for smoking weed, and most burners would. Cool. Yeah,
they probably already have sprinkler systems and all the fire hazards.
I mean, the last 20 movies I went and saw, I was either high on edibles or I was smoking weed. I was flowering it up, So I mean, why not just let people have a show where they could smoke? Partnerships between U.S. Hemp Roundtable and Blue Check help support online hemp sales. The U.S. Hemp Roundtable has partnered with Blue Check to enhance age verifications for online hemp sales. This collaboration aims to help businesses comply with regulations by verifying that only legal adults can purchase hemp products online. Blue Check's automated system integrates the major e-commerce platforms and includes features like identity verification, photo ID backup, and automated order management. This ensures that they're being in compliance. Okay. Missouri lawmakers weigh how to spend the marijuana revenue that regulators say continue to outpace expectations. Good for you, Missouri. Lawmakers are debating how to allocate marijuana revenue, which has exceeded expectations. The state has received $85 million in sales tax from recreational cannabis, with funds directed to veterans, public defenders, and substance use disorder programs. The Missouri Veteran Commission is set to receive an additional $13 million, with the public defender system faces challenges, with lawmakers approving only part of the requested funds. Despite surplus revenue, public defenders have not yet received full funding for pay raises or additional social workers. Massachusetts Inspector General pushes marijuana regulators to conduct audit over failure to collect licensing fees. They owed $550,000 in licensing fees since August of 2022. Michigan judge finds marijuana testing facilities launched by, guess who? Ex-cops violated testing results. A Michigan judge found Veridis Laboratories, a cannabis testing company founded by former cops, repeatedly violated state rules using unapproved methods and failing to document procedures. These violations include inflating THC levels, misidentifying mold, and not following proper testing protocols. Despite regulatory warnings and large cannabis recall, the lab continued operations. The judge dismissed the claims as bias against the state, upholding the Cannabis Regulatory Agency actions justified. The company remains influential in Michigan's cannabis market despite ongoing criticism. Cops being dirty. So, dirty weed. Kentucky Governor's Andy Beshear signs new cannabis drink regulation into law. Senate Bill 202 into law, introducing stricter regulations for cannabis-infused beverages. The law clarifies product labeling, defines agency oversight responsibilities, and institution fee structures for beverages licenses. The Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control will oversee the industry, setting limits on intoxicating ingredients and establishing various licenses types with associated fees. The University of Kentucky Cannabis Center is tasked with studying the impact of cannabinoid beverages on public health and commence with findings due in 2026. Pot for Potholes Act fails in the House subcommittee in Tennessee. That was quick. It failed with 2 votes for and 5 votes against. According to the bill's history, the Pot for Potholes Act is set to be discussed in the Senate on March 31st, which was a couple days ago.
Yesterday.
Yes, yesterday. Illinois monthly cannabis sales dipped to lowest since 2023. February sales finally came out. February 2025 sales totals dipped to 130 million. Nearly 5 million less than February 2024 totals at 135 million. Ah, poor $5 million. That's it. That's not the world's end. It's February, one of the slowest months of the year. People got credit cards to pay from Christmas. They get that first credit card bill, Relax. It's only 5 million. But, come on. Ms. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
Everybody working in weed should know what? This. Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
Yep. Those outside of the cannabis industry often believe that dispensary owners and farmers are making wads of cash. Unfortunately, that couldn't be farther from the truth. There may be some brands that have successfully scaled against the wind, but most are barely breaking even. The heavy taxation and cost of compliance are 2 heavy burdens, and many other hard-to-solve issues compound them, adding up to a mess with few solutions. Rather than attempting to solve everything at once, it can feel more manageable to break the industry down into problematic parts. So, here are the top 3 things that seem to plague every state. 1. Exponential taxation. Every state sets a tax rate for its cannabis program at launch. Cities and municipalities tack on sales tax on top of that rate. At the time of purchase, a large chunk of consumer money goes directly to the government. This universal cannabis operator struggle has more impact in some places like Washington, where tax rates reach as high as 47% on some purchases. But even those on the lower end are feeling the impacts. While this is an issue that can be agreed upon in almost every state-controlled cannabis industry in the United States, it is the one that is least viable for traction with lawmakers. In fact, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine is floating a 10% tax hike for its fledgling weed sector. Lowering taxes across the board may be the fastest way to bolster the space. 2. Interstate commerce. Interstate commerce refers to opening borders between states for business purposes. Currently, it is illegal to cross state lines with cannabis, especially if the plant is not legal in one of those destinations. Lawmakers have attempted to work with neighboring officials on bills that would open up cannabis business between states, but there is yet to be movement. This could also be more easily accomplished if rescheduling to lower restrictions on the plant were to happen. Allowing cannabis to be imported and exported around the United States might have cascading benefits. Cultivators in ideal locations like Northern California could ship sun-grown flower to those living in more arid and harsh climates where such agricultural products aren't available. While it seems all positive, this would not be an easy shift. There are established brands and locales where growing weed outside has become has more complications than benefits. I'm really high. Let me start that over. There are established brands and locales where growing weed outside has more complications than benefits that take pride in their indoor grows. Additionally, craft weed is not always scalable, and supple land is not lying empty waiting for new weed farms in California. Either way, interstate commerce could decrease pressure all around, and that could be good for everyone. 3, lab testing. There is a real problem with lab testing in the weed industry.
Dirty cops.
Many states require rigorous testing for cannabis products sold in the regulated market. This should make it easy to find clean and safe products. Unfortunately, this has not been the case. Recalls and secret shoppers have shown that pesticides and other contaminants continue finding their way into weed despite a clean lab result. This may lead to questioning whether the lab system works. Cannabis labs operate for profit rather than in-house for the regulatory bodies or agencies. This has created a need to win accounts, opening the door for bad actors. Some labs have been accused of offering clean tests for dirty weed, inflated cannabinoids, or even terpene content in return for their business.
I know a company.
Yeah.
In Michigan.
We
just read about it.
That is good for them, yet detrimental for the customer. Labs need an overhaul, but it will take dedication and a dedicated look at how they are run before there's any movement, let alone change. 4, medical struggles in adult use states. Legalization movements are often patient-led. Medical cannabis came first in a lot of legal states. As regulators took on the task of transitioning medical dispensaries and processors to recreational, many patients have been left behind. Adult use regulations always cover lab testing, but it's not a perfect system. Patients can be subjected to consuming dirty products before a recall is issued, or they could be forced to shop in a market tailored to an entirely different customer. Adult use or recreational use laws have brought hope for more access, innovation, and destigmatization. Instead, though, it has left a lot of medical patients without their trusted brands or dispensaries. Meanwhile, new products are often tailored toward having fun rather than treating chronic pain. The retail weed world could do better for this class of consumers. 5, the industry needs help. Cannabis entrepreneurs entered the brand new weed world excitedly, and many are left dejected as they face a litany of uphill battles. Those with knowledge of the space know that legal weed operators are facing challenges beyond these issues. But while much of it is left to be done, tackling one thing at a time is the only manageable way to move toward a cannabis industry that could work for everybody.
Yes. We need it to work.
Yeah, they gotta figure it out.
International news. Dean Hujin forced to deny claim of marijuana addiction as the 46 million Real Madrid target explained why he has sleepy eyes. Bournemouth and Spain defender Dean Hujin has denied he smokes cannabis as he discussed his sleepy eyes. What Hujin said, basically for everyone watching, I have sleepy eyes, he said. I have it from my mom. Because my mom gives me all the wheat. No, I'm just kidding. Because my mom has sleepy eyes. I'm not high. I'm sorry. I'm not high.
Oh.
We're not allowed to take weed. It's doping control. I'm not high. It's how I was born. I can't do anything about it. Do you believe him?
Yeah. Why is anyone? Why?
Because he got interviewed and people said that he was high in this interview. He was a famous soccer player.
No.
So for the Real Madrid, worked his way up through the.
He just has sleepy eyes.
I think he's high. Just what do I know? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I believe his mom gives it to him. She has sleepy eyes, all right? I am just kidding. It's a good excuse, though. I have sleepy eyes. Matzo Dali to withdraw controversial ban on cannabis hemp products. South African Health Minister Dr. Aaron Mastodole will withdraw the controversial ban on cannabis and hemp products after backlash from growers and business owners. You think? The ban initially introduced without public consultation criminalized use of these products in foodstuff and cosmetics. President Cyril Ramaphosa supports stakeholders' engagement to draft new regulations addressing health concerns at the market safety. The government aims to balance regulations with the goal of making South Africa a leader in hemp and cannabis production. That was a foolish mistake. When I read it the last couple of times ago, I was like, what are you thinking? Germany, Berlin's local justice system annuls penalties in 178 cases related to marijuana and hashish violations. Berlin's local justice system annulled penalties in 178 marijuana and hashish regulated cases following cannabis legalization. A total of 249 cases were reviewed as part of an amnesty provision, amid at determining eligibility for pardon. However, this process has sparked criticism due to the increased workload without significant reduction in judicial burdens, or the cannabis black market. Justice Senator Flor Bandenberg called for reassessment of the law to ensure more effective implementations. Plan launched to protect medical cannabis users in the UK. Flintshire Council in Wales may become the first in the country to offer specific protection to medical cannabis users. A motion proposes additional protection for social housing tenants and council staff legally prescribed cannabis. This includes updating equality impact assessments and preventing discrimination against employees with prescriptions. It would also offer training to improve understanding of medical cannabis laws, legalized in 2018. The motion was raised after David Case, a medical cannabis user with rheumatoid arthritis, highlighted ongoing challenges despite the treatment being legal. The full council will review the motion on April 3rd. UK has imported more cannabis from Spain than any other country since 2021. Since 2021, the UK has imported more medical cannabis from Spain than any other country. Data obtained by the Home Office by Prohibition Partners in Business of Cannabis reveals in 2024 the UK medical cannabis flower imports more than doubled, increasing from 7,000 kg in 2023 to over 1,400 kg in 2024. For a country that has a very small medical program, you sure like your weed there, UK. I love you out there. Tommy Chong is going to speak at the 54th Ann Arbor Hash Bash, which is going on this Sunday, April 6th, right? Yeah, in Michigan, if you're there.
The 5th. The 5th.
A 5th, okay. 54 years. 54 of them. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Long time.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
You all like your hash. You do make some really good hash, though, Michigan. You do. Some of the best in the United States. Your hash is fucking fantastic. So I can see why Mr. Chong is going there to celebrate. Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
Stoner comedy legend Tommy Chong is returning to the Ann Arbor Hash Bash. The 86-year-old comedian and actor who rose to fame in the 1970s and 80s as part of the Cheech and Chong duo is scheduled to speak at the 54th Annual Weed Rally at the University of Michigan on Saturday, April 5th. I'm excited about this year, said Hash Bash organizer Jamie Lowell, noting it's Chong's first time returning in several years. Chong, alongside comedian and actor Cheech Marin, has starred in several films. Joey Marin, Cheech Marin's son, is expected to accompany Chong at this year's Smoke Fest in Ann Arbor, which traditionally kicks off at high noon on the Diag, which is like their open space on campus. Chong has made occasional appearances at Hash Bash over the decades. At age 77, he sang Ann Arbor's praises at the 45th annual edition of the festival, as cannabis activists still were rallying to legalize marijuana in Michigan, which happened with voter approval 2 years later. Ann Arbor was the very first, to stand up and tell everybody there's nothing wrong with this plant, Chong told the crowd of thousands that year. Though still illegal in many places, marijuana has been decriminalized in Ann Arbor since the 1970s. Chong also spoke about his battles with prostate and rectal cancer at the 2016 Hash Bash and said marijuana, which he described as a magical plant, helped him get through it and gave him an appetite for food when he needed it. The one thing that cannabis does, it gives you the munchies. And thank God for the munchies, he said. Lowell said he's looking forward to welcoming the super legend back to Hash Bash. Chong will appear early in a long lineup of speakers and musical acts. It's always just a super cool thing, he said. I mean, that particular guy is in a class by himself. He's experienced everything in the world of cannabis, said Lowell. There will be 3 blocks of speakers, everyone from activists like Mr. Hashbash, Adam Brook, to elected officials, with music performances in between. Hashbash coincides with the nearby Monroe Street Fair, which the city has permitted to take over Monroe Street from 11 to 6 p.m. with vendors, arts and crafts booths, and food trucks.
That sounds like fun, too.
Yeah. We will host the same beloved show that has brought joy and unity to the community for over 20 years. Fair organizers Charlie Strackbine and Fred Heller said in their permit application. Our primary goal remains steadfast, to bring people together for a day of happiness and joy. Hash Bash and the street fair are deeply rooted in the city's history, celebrating freedom, culture, and community, and the event not only draws thousands of visitors from across Michigan and beyond, the organizers said, but they also generate a total estimated economic impact of $2.75 million to $7.55 million over the course of the weekend, counting money spent on hotel accommodations, dining, retail, and transportation. The infusion of economic activity highlights the positive influence of the events on Ann Arbor's local businesses and the community as a whole.
We need to go.
We do need to go.
We need to go to Hash Bash.
We need to start traveling around to like the big events.
Yes.
Yeah. That'd be
That's
fun.
why I want a camper.
A camper.
I want a nice, like, 25-footer.
With a hood ornament of Mr. Weedman.
That's it. Puffing away. Yeah, that's why I want a camper, so we could just take the dog and go. And just park and then have to take, tow a little car or some scooters and go do our thing. I mean, it's been a dream of mine since I started this show. We've been talking about one day being able to own a camper and going to all the different events, and staying just the weekend and driving back home. Instead of getting a hotel.
I'm going to start a Mr. Weedman GoFundMe.
For a camper?
Go fund Mr. Weedman's
camper?
Travels.
Oh, shit. Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
Here's to 250.
250.
Here's to the next 250.
Congrats.
It's not going to take 6 years, though, this time.
No.
Hopefully, we'll do more shows. We have a plan, and we're going to tell you about it yet, but we have a plan and to add some stuff. So we'll tell you all about it maybe on our 420 episode or after 420. So, but for Mrs. Weedman, 250 episodes, I'm so proud of you for sticking with me and through the ups and the downs and the thicks and the thins and the fun times and the bad times and the good times and the hard times and climbing up all these hills we've had to climb all these years. And it's just been a lot of fun doing it with my best bud, my wife, my friend, my sidekick, or I'm your sidekick. How does it work? I don't know, depending on who says who,
Depends on the moment.
Yeah.
Day, what we're doing.
But just everything about this, I love it. I love doing it with you. And I want to thank everybody out there for the last 6 years and for 250 episodes and sticking with us and keeping us going each and every week. We appreciate you all. Mr. Weedman, you got anything else to say?
Thank you, Mr. Weedman. Thanks for bringing the show to the people.
I appreciate it. For the people.
For the people.
Hey, everybody. We love you out there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of 250. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.